Hey YouTube, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. When I need to calm down, I come over to my orrery and I turn it. That's right, I've got an orrery and I use it to calm down. Planets are going to keep moving, the moons are going to keep spinning. Everything's going to be all right. All right, let's get right into it. Got a lot to talk about today. So, Wizards' 30th anniversary product is about to launch. Plus, we had those wonderful optics of their reprint page going down. I understand that that is back up as of Monday, and it looks unchanged. And then we had some statements, basically where they said they're not going to slow down their product line, which just shows an incredible deafness to the outcry that's going on throughout the community. And altogether, it just feels like this reserve list is on the edge of breaking. So, suppose Wizards doesn't change course anytime soon. All right. Suppose, every year we have some vintage anniversary set, or, the best of collector set, or whatever. Or even just, this beta set. What if they just do this again and again and again with different treatments? How bad is this going to get? Let's discuss. Ooh, look at this package. This is from a gentleman that I've shown on the channel a couple of times. He's got the eBay store, I think it's Goblin Trader, but he's basically liquidating an Alpha 40 deck, I think to build a different one, but I picked all these up from him a little while back. It's going to be a bit more played stuff, but that's all right. All right, so let's chat about this a bit. And remember, as always, what the hell do I know? I like to think out loud, so all of my fellow nodes in this hive mind collective of ours can sort of process my thoughts and, maybe feedback the output of that into my comments section. And that way maybe I'll be able to see a little further next time myself. In fact, several opinions I want to talk about in this video have already shifted since my last video, and that's the result of comments and conversations. So, as always, I am trapped doing a monologue, but I would prefer a dialogue, so do please let me know what you think and what I missed. All right, so this topic starts with the Magic 30th. Please don't buy the Magic 30th product. I'm not saying that as a Rudy parrot. I know he's been on quite a campaign. I'm saying that because I think it's important, and I believe it. And, I'll address one of the criticisms that I saw coming up in a lot of his comments, which was, people like you are only saying this because you're trying to protect your own interests, I'm an evil investor and I need to preserve my position. Yeah, sure, but, only in a sense. I actually don't have as much skin in this game as you might think. The vast majority of my stuff is alpha cards, and I still believe that they're basically immune from reprints. I have, relatively speaking, a small position in sort of other reserve list stuff. I got some Silver Age foils, not a bunch. I've got some unlimited duels, not a bunch. The spoils of my Exorcist buyout, things like that. So is this 30th product going to hurt me? Honestly, no. No, it's not very likely that this is going to hurt me. And nor will the sort of best of the Urza's block, which I imagine might be coming. The Arabian Nights Secret Lair, which I imagine is coming. the Lost Kaladesh Masterpiece Dual Lands, series. None of that's really going to impact me too badly. Alpha's immune to all that, but what Alpha is not immune to is the collapse of the entire hobby. Oh, these are very, very played. Done a lot of business with this guy, so he gave me a very good deal. I've mentioned in other videos, I don't usually put too much capital towards beat up cards. I really like the nicer ones, but in this case it was a sort of bulk deal. And I can always use a couple Juggernauts. So yeah, Alpha cards are resilient against a lot of failure modes, but they are not resilient against a collapse of the game or of the hobby. Now, that probably sounds a bit dramatic. Yeah, I suppose. But I do believe that that is one possible outcome further down this road that we've turned onto, or that we are in the process of turning onto. It is not, I don't think, even remotely likely to be the outcome of this 30th product in and of itself. Definitely not. But yeah, this new road ahead of us, it has many forks, and some of those forks lead to places that I think could kill the hobby. And yeah, let me talk a little bit about that. First, though, I want to talk about why I actually think this 30th product is not going to be as bad as a lot of people are saying, and why that's actually more dangerous for us. Why that makes it even more important to take a stand right now if you feel that this is the wrong direction for Hasbro. Do not buy this. Do not give views to videos that are subsidizing it. Here's the scenario that I'm afraid of. I believe the print run on this is going to be very tight. I think they're going to do that on purpose. I think it's going to be a genuinely small print run. This will be a legitimately limited product. I believe they've given it a lot of thought, and they know what they're doing a little bit more than maybe we're giving credit. I also think collectors will show an interest in this product that isn't being reflected very well in the YouTube echo chamber. And this means that the prices might actually hold reasonably well on some of the more iconic cards that are getting a reprint. I don't know if that'll happen. I'm not claiming that is what's going to happen, but I do think that's perfectly plausible. If a modern frame Mox Ruby prices itself as high as an unlimited Mox Ruby, or an M30 dual land prices itself equivalent to a revised dual land, if that's what ends up happening after these boxes are opened and singles come to the market, then a lot of the fuss and a lot of the worry about secondary market crashes and about reserve list cards being worthless, it's going to die off. People are going to move on to the next complaint. There's sort of no shortage of reasons to be outraged. People will move on to the next one. And there will be a calm where it might look, certainly to Hasbro, as though this stunt worked. And people will stop pushing back. And that, I think, is a problem. Just to clarify something there, though, this is something that I actually think Rudy hasn't explained very well. In several of his recent videos, he sort of ranted about how, a card printed today can't be worth more than a card printed 30 years ago. As though such a thing is fundamentally impossible. Now, I know what he's saying. I know what he means. There's some truth in that too, but in fact, that's really pretty simple. It's just because of manufactured scarcity. So, supply and demand will do their thing, regardless of the inputs that are motivating the demand. And so, you know, take an unlimited card, say, you know, an unlimited power card or whatever. It's got age, it's got scarcity, it's got nostalgia, you know, among other things. Those factors will generate its supply-demand curve. They will generate its price. And if you take the same card in M30, you know, this new card, it's not going to have age. It'll have some nostalgia. The art's similar, but it's not the same. You know, call it half. No age, half the nostalgia. So suppose the demand is reduced by 75%. Doesn't matter. I'm making up a number. But suppose the demand is 75% less because it's not a 30-year-old card, which is sort of the direction Rudy is pushing at. So, okay, but what if you compensate by that? Compensate for that by adjusting the scarcity down 80%. Well, there you go. So yeah, card is 75% less demanded, 80% more scarce. You now have a situation where it's going to support the pricing, you know, that you're seeing in the old stuff. And it's not because the new card is somehow, you know, deserving of that value compared to a historic piece. It's just supply and demand. Doesn't really give a shit about those inputs. And the Kaladesh Masterpiece stuff is an excellent example of that. I got a lot of big batches today. Ooh, this is a good one. So Kaladesh Masterpiece is it's an excellent example of manufactured scarcity coupled with a very appealing look. And so this caused the supply to be short and the demand to be high. And boom, there you have it. You know, these cards are reprints of non-reserved cards. They're only 6 years old, and they are comfortably supporting prices between $150 and $1,000. I know this because I'm working on completing a Masterpiece set. I think those cards are so beautiful. But, you know, take the Ornithopter. Near mint foil, Kaladesh, that's $155 on TCG Player. Go look if you don't believe me. A near mint Antiquities Ornithopter, the original 30-year-old card, is $8. And you would not be correct to say that because Antiquities is 30 years old and less expensive, it is therefore underpriced, or that the Kaladesh Masterpiece is therefore overpriced. That's, you know, not the case. It has to do with the specifics of the supply-demand curve. So let's not make assumptions about the single prices. It really is going to depend entirely on the print run, aka the scarcity, and the demand. Yes, so where were we? Very nice. Gloom. Lovely. Wow, look at this. I'm on a roll today. A lot of black. That's good. I can always use more black. Okay, so let's take, you know, the brand new modern frame even Black Lotus. If that's desired by collectors and it's printed scarce enough, it could reasonably hold a price competing with an unlimited Black Lotus. Those are both ifs, obviously. It's a perfectly plausible scenario, though. Ooh, nice sinkhole, nice and clean. I love sinkhole. Those are big ifs. But should that happen, it will allow these cards to hold prices in the secondary market, the originals, I mean, without any cannibalization. And, you know, I'm not predicting that. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We won't know until we see how much supply comes to market. But the point I was making is, if the prices on the secondary market hold, which is perfectly plausible if there's some organic demand for these and if the print run is scarce, and I suspect both of those things will turn out to be true, then we're not going to see a secondary market crash. And some of these singles might situate themselves as, you know, a non-competing product, sort of like the Masterpiece. You know, if it's just as expensive to get a 30th as it is to get a real one, well, players who can afford the originals and want to play aren't going to be drawn to the fake ones, the non-tournament legal ones. Why would they? So their attention will not become divided. You know, one of the calculations that I ran in my other video series was I pulled in the gold bordered cards from the championship decks, and I tried to see what effect those have on the demand pool for the original cards. And you know, the reason I thought that might be useful is because it's what you might expect to happen if a competing card shows up that is much cheaper. But now I'm saying, suppose these aren't much cheaper. Suppose they do hold the value. Well, then you really don't have this sort of split off among the player base. Because if it's going to cost the same either way, the player is going to go for the legal version of the card. It is no longer competing. And likewise for collectors, you know, if they hold the original, they may also want this new one. You know, they may want to collect that as well. But it doesn't seem very likely they're going to want to sell the old one. You know, they're not going to sell their Alpha Wall of Air to get their 30th Collector's Edition Wall of Air. You know, maybe they want both. In other words, this giant meteor could hit the ground and not leave any crater. And again, I don't know if that's going to happen. I am leaning in that direction at the moment, though. And if that happens, it'll be really bad, unintuitively. It will be really bad. Because not only will it give Wizards a green light, you know, in terms of sales, in terms of how their Q4 earnings are going to look, but it will send entirely the wrong signal back to them when the outrage dies out. If the secondary market doesn't crash, there will be no lasting backlash. And we, sort of as a community, we've got this rare energy of unity right now. We're all pointed in the same direction. That doesn't happen very often. That is likely to dissipate in this situation. And when those things happen, Wizards will now be free to make a really monumental mess, a really gigantic mess, before circumstances would allow us to stop them. And yeah, so let's take that apart a little bit. I keep talking about supply and demand, and you know, the recurring question, one that I myself was raising, is who the hell is going to want these cards? You know, who is demanding them? In my previous video series, I made the hasty case that this product is sort of being sold to speculators, ultimately targeted as singles to players, and justified in its price point by labeling it for collectors. I think I was too rigid when I was scratching out those boundaries. And you know, I'll be honest. I wanted to buy this product when it was first announced. You know, I'm not going to, for the reasons I'm explaining in this video. But I'm just telling you my honest reaction to seeing it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that had that reaction. Now, I know the price is totally artificially inflated, you know, to extract, or I guess if you want to be charitable, to maintain secondary market equity. But, you know, I'm a collector. The idea of having, you know, this particular product that commemorates 30 years, you know, add to it the controversy that it's creating. I mean, it would be a cool thing to have in my collection. There's no doubt about it. You know, of course, I think it would be cool to have a binder, you know, full of all the retro all the retro dual lands or something. Yeah. And you know, suppose I weren't on YouTube and I didn't watch these channels that many of us are watching, and you know, as a consequence of doing that, I hadn't really had any reason to think through what all this might imply or where it might lead. You know, in other words, if I were a casual collector, and there are a lot of casual collectors out there, a lot of them, you know, I might have seen this. I probably would have seen this and just thought to myself, Oh, that's cool. It's expensive, but it's limited. It's like the original collector's edition. I can afford it. Let's go. Let's do it. There's plenty of people like that. Plenty of them have money to spend. So, you know, I'm not buying it out of principle, but let's be real. Not that many people spend this much time thinking about the politics or the implications of their cardboard hobby. You know, they buy this stuff, you know, they look at it a bit, and then they go back to their real world lives. So yeah, I do think collectors are going to want this sealed. I don't think I was right when I said speculators and flippers are the only people buying this. And then, you know, as for the singles, talking about those single prices, again, yeah, I think collectors are going to want it. Full disclosure here too, I actually said this in my very first video. I said that this would be the case. It has now come to be. I did already buy a retro frame Sarah Angel for $40 and a retro frame Demonic Tutor for $250. Obviously from resellers, not from Wizards. And yeah, both of those prices are stupid, and I was ripped off. But you know, those are my pet cards. I have 2 global sets. One of Sarah Angel, one of Demonic Tutor. And I knew I wanted those as soon as they were announced. I still want to get the modern frame version. I want to have one of every printing of that card. And so yeah, I paid an idiotic premium to have it now instead of later. And you know, what are you going to do? But it just goes to show there's a lot of people like me in that regard. You know, everyone has their card. You know what I mean? I know an Earthbind guy. I know a couple of Mahamoti Jin guys. I know there's a Frozen Shade guy, a Natural Selection guy. You know, it's a thing. Basic lands too. Some people are going to want a pile of them. Or, you know, they're going to want 9/5s or, you know, whatever. It's going to be a thing. This is not an uncollectible thing. You know, definitely not. And the fact that it's not tournament legal, you know, that's going to have zero impact on collectors. I mean, a graded card is not tournament legal. That's obviously a huge market. So yeah, singles, I think collectors are going to be into the singles. I don't know how much, but I definitely think they're going to be in. And players too. And that one, Tavis King dropped a video, an excellent video, a few days ago. You know, the quality that only he can sort of do, the level of analysis that makes the rest of us look like we're playing with crayons. You should check it out if you have time. It's close to 2 hours long though. But jump. Another jump for the Horde, folks, because I don't have enough yet. But he convinced me in that video that these anniversary cards may well land in the market more in the sort of bling category instead of the proxy category. And that's why I keep bringing up the Masterpiece series, because I'm beginning to wonder if that might be a better analogy to consider. I mean, suppose a 30th edition Time Twister prices itself at $1,200. Ooh, that's a beautiful jump. There is one sale to support that so far. But suppose it happens. And suppose the scarcity is such and the demand is such that price actually can hold. Well, a $1,200 card is not a proxy. You're going to need a proxy for it. You're not going to use it as a proxy. So if that situation comes to be, and again, I think it's quite plausible that it could. I'm not saying it will, I don't know, but it is definitely plausible. If that situation comes to be, then the correct way to think about these cards is not as proxies, but as variants, as specialty variants. And, you know, players have always sought specialty variants. I can think of no reason why this would be particularly an exception, except for people that have sort of a principled disagreement with the set. But yeah, there you go. So I think the sealed and the singles plausibly could have a real organic market under them, beyond just speculators and flippers. And so that means that this product is not guaranteed to flop or to crash or any of that. You know, we don't know exactly how it's going to do. It's definitely priced where it could have a soft impact on the secondary market if it's scarce enough. If. And you know, it actually might land with very little impact on the real cards. You know, really sort of occupying a space, sort of like the Masterpiece series. And again, that's the problem, because that will give WotC all the wrong indicators. Specifically, if this product is successful and there's no secondary market crash, then that is the end of the spirit of the reserve list. That is specifically my concern. Now, I know I declared the spirit of the reserve list dead a few videos ago, but I think the truth is that this is the test. Wizards has put the rope around its neck and is ready to pull the lever to drop it. And this will be the moment where they have to decide if they can kill it or not, if they can get away with this or not, so to speak. This is their test. And the two ways it can go are the backlash is such and the results are such that they have to backpedal quickly. They have to go into damage control mode. They decide to revitalize the spirit of the reserve list and stand firmly behind it. That's one scenario. The second scenario is there is not significant backlash. This hits the market without, you know, causing a secondary market crash. Single prices are accepted, and then they are greenlit to do the execution. This becomes normalized, and at that point, the spirit of the reserve list is out for the foreseeable future. Now, this is a nice pack here. Look at this. Now, I don't think it'll be out forever. I mean, we have to acknowledge that no matter how far off course they go, it is in their own greedy best interest to eventually right the ship. They need the brand and the game to survive. But they can do an awful lot of damage while they're crashing into the walls, you know, trying to figure this out. So if they decide to put the spirit of the reserve list aside, it could be years before they revisit that properly. And I think that could conceivably lead to a collapse in the MTG ecosystem, which could either sink the hobby, you know, in the short term, or it could set up the situation, you know, to sort of guarantee that there's no generational handoff of the hobby down the road. These are the risks. God damn, 30 minutes in. Shoot. I don't know what's wrong with me. I really do try to write, like, you know, 7 to 15 minute video outlines, but it just doesn't play out that way. So I really want to go into the relationship between the different parts of the MTG ecosystem and why the reserve list is an important element in some of those moving parts. There is a very complicated symbiosis that exists between players, collectors, and dealers, card prices and liquidity, game access and game stickiness. All of those things are in a big wheel spinning around. And breaking one part of that ecosystem can threaten the health of the entire thing, you know, depending what's broken and how. Ooh. And yeah, that's easily another 20 minutes. And I don't want to go that long, so... All right, I guess I'll have to make this a sort of part 1 thing. I don't think I'll go right into part 2. I guess I'll release that as a separate video, probably after this thing launches. But, well, okay, here's the summary anyway. There is a pretty decent chance, in my humble opinion, that M30 will hit the market without causing any major problems, assuming the print run is low enough, which I'm suspecting it is. I don't know that to be true. We shall see. But if it is really tight, wow, what an ending here. Look at this. Minor ding there, that's all right. Wow, Dark Pact. Assuming the print run is tight, this really could hit without causing any major market problems. If that's the case, the pushback from the players and collectors will evaporate. Not from everybody, but from a lot of people. The sort of voice of unison will go. The hype will drain away. The anger will redirect. We will not be unified on this point any longer. And, you know, the opinion of one analyst at Bank of America can easily fall by the wayside if Q4 is just awesome. This will be normalized. The spirit of the reserve list will be dead. And once dead, it becomes very easy for wizards to make decisions that destroy one or multiple parts of the MTG ecosystem. And should that happen, the game or the hobby could be damaged beyond repair. And, you know, again, I'm not saying that's inevitable. I'm not one for alarmism or anything like that. But it just seems clear to me that this is a guardrail that is better left in place than taken down. And so those of us who are following this situation, you need to cast a vote on this. You know, those of us who are sort of sensitive to the larger context, you need to decide if you want to validate this direction or not. And, you know, I said before, there are going to be a lot of people who are just sort of more casually in the hobby than, you know, some of us here. But I don't know how those numbers break down. It could very well be that there's more of us than them. But we are up against them. And they're not thinking in these terms, so we need to be. And, you know, I'm not interested in canceling or boycotting or anything like that. You know, certainly not at a company or creator level. But at a product level, by all means. I am not buying this product at all. I will not watch any videos where they do an opening on it. You know, I don't hold anything against the creator. I'll just skip that video and come back for the next one. But I won't watch. And I am in contact. I've made contact with a handful of sort of the hobby whales, I guess. I haven't found anyone that's going to buy it. In fact, I guess I'll finish with this. I actually think I might have ruffled Rudy's feathers. So I noticed it was either 3 or 4 of his videos in a row, recent videos, where he sort of was shouting, and, you know, he said that he would not do any openings on the channel. And, you know, he always said it the same way. I will not do any openings on this channel, even though I would make money, blah, blah, blah. And so I actually contacted him on the side, and I sort of said, I was like, yo, are you using this phrasing on purpose? Or do you just mean what I think you mean, you know, that you're not buying it? And, you know, he responded with this sort of usual terse fashion. He's like, oh, no, I'm not buying it. But then, not long after, like a couple hours later, he posted another video and he raged against internet conspirators who are saying that he's secretly buying them. Whoops. I didn't mean it that way, but whatever. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I invite you to do the same if you feel as I do. Don't buy it. More importantly, encourage those in your network not to buy it. And do this before the M30 lands and this is normalized. Because I am increasingly believing, I'm repeating myself a bit here, I'm increasingly believing that this will land with a puff instead of a boom, and then it will be too late to marshal a pushback. You know, we'll lose the momentum right there. I had sort of been thinking, perhaps some of you were thinking, that after this lands, the outrage is going to only increase. I've heard some people say the lawsuits might pop up. You know, I find that a little dubious, but I think some people are imagining that Wizards will be forced to react after this hits. But I am worried that the wind could be yanked out of our sails if we wait that long, and then it's just too late. So yeah, I guess I'm going to stop here. It's a bit more of a negative ending than I had in mind. You know, I had another 20 minutes of stuff I was going to talk about, but yeah, I don't feel as negative as that might have sounded. I'm really just trying to call everybody to action. You know, if you don't like this direction, make a point of saying something in your playgroup or at your LGS or wherever you can. There's plenty of people who aren't particularly decided, or, you know, don't pay this much attention to it, or haven't given it much thought. And, you know, if we can get them to pass on this product, maybe we can send the right message before it's too late to send the message. And, you know, there's plenty of things to speculate on if someone's just looking to gamble. You know, these serialized cards from Brothers War are selling really well and pricing quite high. You know, there's all sorts of opportunities you could try if you just want to spend the money, but maybe don't do it on this. All right, so thanks for watching. I'm sorry that it got so disorganized at the end here, and man, I wish I had a little more time to enjoy the cardboard today. I really had was a little lost on the topic there, but I've got some really nice rares. This Raging River is beautiful. And I love this guy. Tough to find recently. I pulled some of the market numbers, but yeah, this is running so long. So, all right, I'll call it there. Thanks for joining me as always. I appreciate it. And particularly in this video, do please feed me back some of your input into the comments, because, you know, it's a complicated topic and I'm very interested to see what everybody makes of it and what they think. So, talk to you down there. See you next time. Thanks for watching today's video. If you're enjoying my channel, you can really help me out by selling everything that you own, and then use that money to buy alpha cards, and then send those cards to me for free. I'll even open them on the channel. See you next time.